Are you on down there now? What? Huh. Good, okay. Okay, this is the Town of New Canaan Utilities Commission regular meeting for Thursday, July 12th, 2024. Currently 6:59. We need to take attendance. Papa, would you mind taking attendance?
You're on count two.
Not here?
Mike Collins, not here. Bernard,
Bernie, Clark, here.
Sven,
Here.
Krista, here. Kareem,
Not here.
Donegal,
No,
here, and Rich.
here. Okay, I have a question for, about, Cantu, Hiram, because he is recused himself as a result of the water project. What does that mean that he's recused? I know he does not come to meetings, but does that mean he counts in the quorum or doesn't, or is on the commission?
He only has to recuse himself on the water issue.
Anytime we make a vote,
Right, on the water issue.
we can discuss it, but he can't vote.
He can't
No,
vote.
he wants to not even hear the discussion.
Okay,
All right,
I've tried to mention things, and no, we're in, and he signs off.
okay, that's fine.
Oh, is that
I mean,
right?
If he
Sorry.
wants to do that for legal reasons,
Yeah.
that's fine, but he doesn't have to come off the committee for like discussions of,
Right.
you know,
Other things.
cellular or it just if he wants to recuse himself.
I was just
from
curious
water.
because he hasn't been around since,
Yeah,
since the deal got announced and they were running it. So
well, I know that they said, since the acquisition was announced.
I
Okay.
think so because his bank is the one running it
Yeah.
and he's on the team or whatever,
Yeah, it
running
might
the
be
team.
interesting, because I mean, we are a, oh my gosh, I'm gonna think of the word, you're the lawyer, intervener.
Yeah.
We're an intervener in.
Are we considered an intervener now
I.
because of your
asked-
speech or your
No,
letter
no,
or
I
something?
asked our lawyers to officially make us an
Ah,
official
okay.
intervener. So we are
Good.
an official intervener, and we don't have our traditional counsel because, there's some issues.
They're in the
with
deal too?
No, they had, there is another intervener that they, were worried about. So we are now being represented by the same firm, Cohen and Wolf, that represents also Fairfield. And so Westport will also be in. So we're gonna tag, the three of us are all gonna be represented. by the
Are there
same-
more interveners than
Yes,
that?
there are many other interveners
Good.
in the case. So,
What do you know? What's the status of it besides this intervener stuff? I mean, everything you read in the paper, that's all I have.
yeah, there's not a whole lot else to talk about yet because they, I think that Pura, we just asked to be an intervener in, the Pura case, but the Pura, I think, doesn't make a decision until the fall.
And it's Pura's decision?
Right now, yes, it's Pura's decision.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Well, let's continue with the meeting so that we can all get on to our, whatever we're doing. We need to approve the minutes for the regular meetings of April 10th, 2025 and May 20th. Why don't we start with April 10th? Are there any comments on?
no, I read
Was there?
them. I was fine with them. Thank you, Pablo. I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of April 10th.
April 10th.
Just want to make sure I got that right.
Okay.
Second motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Oh, that's great. Okay, now we'll move on to May 20th. So we need to approve the minutes for May 20th. Did anybody else have any comments on those?
I wasn't there. I kind of feel bad about, leaving Pablo all alone at the meeting, but I will make the motion that we approve them.
I can't vote. I wasn't there.
I'll make the motion.
I
that we
wasn't there. I
approve
was
May
up
20.
on Lake Michigan.
You can't vote on anything, there's no quorum that meeting. You can't
Oh,
vote
you're
on-
right.
We didn't
That's
vote on
right. We
anything.
didn't-
Yeah.
they didn't-
The minutes,
There's no minutes. I mean, there's minutes, but you cannot vote on anything because there was nothing.
Right.
Right.
Related to that meeting because you didn't.
so then, when I submit the minutes, they go from draft to final, will that?
I don't even know that, I don't even know that you actually need minutes for that meeting because there was.
Because
no
it's- because-
meeting. I
yeah.
mean, Nothing was discussed, and I mean, it was
Technical
discussed.
request, yeah.
There was time. I don't know,
Can we just pass it just in case?
I don't know who votes on them.
Yeah.
Let's vote on them and then we'll talk to Tucker and she'll figure it out.
Find out what we need to do.
And if we need an extra vote on anything, we'll have one.
Purpose that she was not actually supposed to have. I mean, there was actually I'm actually not comfortable with you guys voting on minutes for a meeting that there was not supposed to be.
Not a meeting.
voting.
I think we
Okay.
can just submit the minutes to
Yeah.
Secretary
Yeah.
and do what you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to item number 3, public comments. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments to the Utility Commission on topics scheduled for review and or vote. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. Any comments? No. I
None.
guess. There's not anybody online?
There's one person online, it's not.
No comment from person online?
Okay.
Okay, then we move on to item number 4, which includes Deanna. Welcome to the Utilities Commission. And Deanna is going to do an election for the chairman of the Utilities Commission as my time has run out. So Deanna, the floor is yours.
All right, well, thank you guys for all the work done. It was very impressive last month, getting the UCLA, data that Papa was able to manipulate and work with, so, be interesting to see the replay of tonight's meeting. But, so Rich, we're sad to see you go, as you're. You've really done a great job on the committee, so.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And you've been a great resource to me, so I appreciate it. So with that, could I get nominations for the office of chair? Rich?
I nominate Sven. I think he'll be a great chair.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
thank you.
I would like to second that nomination.
And do I have any other nominations for the office of chair? All right. all
Do we
those-
vote?
Yep, all those in favor of Sven for chair of the Utilities Commission, and it is unanimous.
Unanimous.
Aye.
Terrific.
Congratulations.
Terrific. Thank you. Terrific.
Thank you.
You are in good hands. I know you are.
I didn't bring the box of junk that I have left under my desk, but I'll deliver it to your house tomorrow. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
No,
Thank you very much. We don't have any other elections, right? But there was, if I could just tell people here, and hold on, can I borrow the sheet
Could I
back?
ask them?
Yeah. This has brought the question up to a number of people of what the terms are
Oh,
that people
okay.
have.
Yeah.
And so I just thought I'd go through what the terms are. Hiram Cantus is July 1st, 2027. Mike Collins is July 1st, 2027. And Bernard Clark is July 1st, 2027. Going down to 2026, that's Sven is 2026. And then Danica Landers, who's currently on leave from the commission, is July 1st, 2025. So her term just ran out.
yet. We're not in July yet.
Oh, you're right. She's got 1 month. She's got 1 month to get back in on it. Krista's is out right now as well, and I understand she's not going to be continuing. I got a hold of Karim. His term is over as well on July 1, and he is not planning on returning either. Rich Townsend, his term is over on July 1, and he's not planning on returning. Boy, you've got an empty thing here.
I have to go look at these.
It doesn't list it on this list.
I have them all in my office. I can get that, but I guess what I would ask of you.
Thought
all
Karim
is
was an
you're a
aye.
Technical committee, and so you kind of need some skills,
Mhm.
obviously, and I would welcome any suggestions for replacements and people that you think would add value to the. So,
Okay, no, thank you. Well, and I would like to thank Krista. I mean, you added a tremendous amount as the lead in two-way communications. I mean, the Vermont interface, right? The UCLA, finding UCLA after
Yeah.
trudging through all the other companies that might want to do something here.
It's been a joy to work with all of you, and it's reminiscent of our town council days, now a decade
was,
ago.
yeah.
almost, But it's been really great to work with all of you, so.
Well, you've
I've
added,
enjoyed my
you've
time.
added a lot. And I'll tell you, I was thinking about it tonight, from where we started, where we didn't have a clue what to do. And you kind of took it and said, we need this coverage study. And then Karim added in, and he didn't let us get away without getting a bunch of data, which led to problem, quite frankly. We would have no data. We would have 4 charts,
Yeah, we
right?
love
We'd have
working
paid
with you.
$15,000 and had 4 charts. that we probably could have gotten from the siting council for free.
Right.
But we didn't do that and you led us in the right direction.
Well, I
And
think it's great. I mean, the data that was on the website was from what, 2012, 2014.
yeah, it was from,
Nothing
it was
else
10 years
we
old.
have updated
Yeah,
reports.
it was 10 years old.
Yeah, it
So
sure was.
hopefully, something will be done with it.
And I think a lot can be done with it.
Well, Rich, before you go, you have to like report on the network extender.
I'll tell you, I will give you a report on the network extender.
No.
But let's just finish this conversation
Okay.
first. Okay, I think one of the things that's very interesting is Alex from Ookla sent this over and I sent it around. This is an article that they've written on us and they're ready to publish it. They do want a paragraph from us, so we apparently have to do something in order to get it published. But I thought it was quite a nice article and I think it's interesting. And I think it's really interesting that they're kind of using us as the forefront of people trying to actually increase coverage. Yeah, so I think that's a tribute to you. Tribute to you.
Mhm.
And a tribute to Karim. I really, thinking back on it, had he not been on data, had he not kept saying, data, we need the data, right? I mean, it was about all he said, but that was what he said, data, we need the data. And that really proved to be true. That proved to be true. Okay, now on to the extender. I'm hesitant to say what I think about it because I passed it on to Sven, who is evaluating it. And I think Sven is going to pass it on to Pablo and to Krista to evaluate it as well. So I might be leading the witness if I
Okay.
make a
Well, no,
comment,
that's
but I
great.
will.
That's great.
No, go ahead.
I'll share my
I
thoughts.
wanted to make sure you had passed it along before.
I passed it along and I'll share my comments with you at 10:30.
Okay.
No, you really need to share your comments tonight because otherwise they're not going to go into the record ever.
Well, that's probably true, isn't it? That's probably true. Well, I can share my comments. It doesn't seem like a really useful device to me. And the reason it doesn't seem like a really useful device is, and my son-in-law I couldn't have done this. My son-in-law helped me with it, but we tested it out and then didn't understand how it worked. So we did a little AI investigation on how it worked. And what it does is it receives the signal, right? And then it sets up about a 4,000 square foot network in your house, right? And that is then cellular authorized or working. But the issue with it is if you've got a Wi-Fi system in your house, you got the same thing.
So it's basically the same.
It doesn't really replace anything and it sits next to a window. You need to hook it up to the satellite. And apparently you hooked up to the satellite so that it can call 911, so it knows your location. It doesn't use the satellite for anything except that, I don't believe. But I don't think it works if it doesn't hook up. And so I had a hard time in my house finding a place where it hooked up with the satellite. It was inside, was next to a window and hooked up to a satellite.
Okay, so you can't have it out, because I thought it was outside.
You know,
Yeah, outside.
it doesn't appear to be an external one and it came with no directions. So
Oh, that's okay.
I
I
think
Which
Karim
company
put
was
one
it?
on his house and he
I
thought.
think
it
it's
was
He did,
just-
well, I thought
Verizon.
Krista did too.
I haven't unboxed it, but when I find out what the part number is, I'm sure I can look up the
Well,
user
they
manual.
mentioned about an antenna, like you potentially could need different lengths of antenna. So, I don't know, did they include an antenna or was there?
There is some kind of widget that is included.
Okay,
I'm probably not the best tester. I'm like.
You have work to do.
well, I'm on the top of the hill, so I can see
You
the,
are.
I'm line of sight to the antenna at the water tower. His problem was that he was at the bottom of the hill and not line of sight to the antenna.
But we should find then a location that like is problematic, like you.
Hers will be,
Yeah,
right?
and
Yeah.
I mean, somebody that's,
How about yours, Pablo? Have you got
So here's,
reception?
here's the thing, I have extended my house already, so.
You have to turn that
because-
off.
Right, I will have to turn that off to save it, because what's happening is, in my house, I have excellent Wi-Fi, and then if my kids are hanging out by the pool, the Wi-Fi doesn't reach. So what we did is we installed an extender, so now the kids are good by the pool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disable mine,
Yeah,
hook up this one, and
there you go.
Pictures from a wireless carrier?
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, oh, well. then
Probably the
it's
same thing. Probably
You don't
the
need to
same
do
thing.
that. No, you were a test, you would have what they probably gave you. Yeah, that's probably what.
I wonder, I don't know, it
I bet
sounds
it's
like
the
it's the
same
same thing,
I
yeah.
think it's the same thing. I'm
Maybe.
guessing. I don't know.
We'll find out.
All
Yeah.
right.
Well, I think the 2 years has been a delightful expedition into cellular technology. And I think we've learned a lot. I'm not sure we've communicated a lot. And so I think communications is going to be a key for Sven.
Mhm.
I think so. I'm voting for Danica to get her back on board,
Yeah, that would be great.
you know, because she was going to do that.
That was a question on that sheet you have. She's filling in for somebody whose term ends July 1st this year.
Yes.
What's going on with that seat and her?
Boy, I wonder what'll happen.
We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
So you guys-
She
She's
wants
on a
to,
leave.
she wants to stay. Okay. And I don't know what that means if she's a substitute that wants to stay. There, I mean, we just,
Well, she's not a substitute. She's officially seated.
no, she is
replaced
seated. Yeah, I meant
She's
that.
on
I'm trying to think,
leave, I
can't
thought.
remember who she replaced, but she replaced somebody.
Somebody.
We lost two, Jill and Janae.
Janae.
Oh, that's right.
We lost two.
Janae.
She replaced Janae.
One was an R, one was a D.
Right, so she replaced Janae. And so I guess we'll just have to figure out if it's a short-term leave of absence and she wants to stay on, you know,
Yeah.
or if we need to put someone in her place.
Yeah, I'd be glad to call her and
Mhm.
find out.
What's that?
Danica Landers.
Danica Landers.
Oh,
Yeah, your compatriot started at the same time.
but I thought I'm on for like another year, how?
It depended on who you
What
replaced.
happens is when someone resigns,
Mhm.
because Janae moved away,
Mhm.
you fulfill the unexpired term of
Oh.
whoever, and so that's when Janae's term ended. And so normally we would just renew her term, so we just have to figure out if she, you know, wants to continue and has the ability to continue, or if we need to find someone to replace Donna. So
Gotcha, because
That's-
that was very short and sweet.
Yeah, wasn't it though? She was here for one
And she was
meeting,
doing a
wasn't it?
great job too, she
Yeah,
was
no,
like.
she's excited, you know, there's sometimes like gets in the way. so.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Mhm.
Okay, well, why don't we move on to the new world
Hey,
here?
thank you guys.
Thank you, Deanna.
Deanna, thank you for coming.
Bye.
Okay, Pavla, it's
All
your
right,
show.
Paula.
All right,
You are number 5.
5. Okay, sharing.
Oh, wow, I'm gonna be impressed. I ran a meeting this afternoon that I tried to do this.
God, you're so funny.
It didn't work well.
It's harder than you think.
I hope this works. So before we start, I just want to preface this a little bit that I'm using public license to generate all kinds of information and maps. Obviously, if we do this, you know, for the town, we want to get like a cheap license and everything like that, obviously paid for, because performance is not great. So it's slow right now.
Oh, okay.
So it's not going to be.
But
like-
if you had paid for stuff, it would be faster.
It'll be faster, yeah. You know, there.
Well, I think we saved $4,000 by not paying, by
I don't
not
think it's going to be
paying.
$4,000. It's
person.
probably going to be
Well, no, but the budget is $4,000.
fabulous. Okay.
That's the budget that we had for the programming. And since your labor rate has been lower.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, so it's currently this is just a demo. By no means, this is something that we're putting on the town website or anything like that. This is just to show kind of some ideas to how it would work. So the maps that are generated, that's for real. But, you know, just kind of like the verbiage, the drop downs, all that stuff, we can make it pretty, we can make it whatever we want, again, because we're custom.
Mhm.
That's how we roll in Lucana.
Perfect.
Okay, so first you choose your provider, you choose voice or data, and then you generate the map.
Okay, so you've chosen, I can't see that far. So it's Verizon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think I've got,
This is the slow part.
That's the slow part. See, like the top is, can you see the spinning part, like on top?
there's somebody running around gathering the data.
Yeah, there's like a little hamster running
Yeah,
around the
with a little
wheel.
basket,
Yeah.
carrying it over to dump it on the screen.
So that's definitely needs to be improved because obviously,
Think we get some
residents are gonna be
complaints?
like, you know. All right, here we go. Okay,
Ooh,
so that was like in real time generated map. Okay, with.
so this isn't
towers.
just pulling up a stored map, this is actually regenerating it every
Right.
time?
So our original, so what I showed in the last meeting, in the special meeting, is static generated maps. So what I did is I generated the maps before the meeting, and then I just said, hey, these are the maps, and we can just put them on a website, and you say, hey, I want to see, T-Mobile data. I want to see, this, that, the other. Okay. However, the way this came about is two kind of important suggestions were made. One doesn't eliminate the need for the oh my God. Oh, you know what? I have a mouse. What am I doing? I'm like torturing myself. Okay. 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 So one was that the legend seemed a little bit confusing. Like it was using things like poor, excellent, good. Like it was kind of left
Not
up to your imagination what
user-friendly.
that means. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I went with more, and again, this is something that's in my code. We can change it. I went with something that's actually more kind of contributes to your understanding of what level of service you're actually receiving. So strong, usable, weak, high risk of disconnection. No signal is no signal.
And no signal is it never hooked up, right? Period.
No signal, that means like you
There-
literally get
nothing.
like a blank on
Yeah.
your phone. That's nothing. So basically, like if you notice you're driving down like Frogtown, well, up like towards the center of town,
Yeah.
like all your calls drop, that's because there's no signal. So
Right.
that's just black. We have very little of black for voice. When you have a little more patience, I'll generate the data for you. That's quite a bit more black. So we have more voice than data. And,
Now,
so,
if it's red, there's a big chance you fall down.
You might drop.
right? There's actually a lack of power there, right? I mean, the power that is available to your phone at that point in time is lower.
so what happens is there's this metric which measures the strength of the signal.
Yep,
And essentially, so what it does, it falls within bands.
right?
And the red is within the band that there is a very low like distribution on,
Now,
in this spot.
several things can drive that probably, right? I mean, one of the things is you're in a place where there just isn't much because of the geography of it. The second one is if there's a lot of people on that, doesn't that create the same situation or is
Not
it
so
different?
much.
No?
No. So if you notice, so there is some, and this is actually kind of an interesting thing for us to show because we're showing towers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see tower, for instance, there's quite a bit of green and yellow, which is like strong and usable. So it's
Mhm.
like, hey, you get a tower, you get good stuff. So here, there's really nothing in this area. The nearest tower is quite far and probably topographically even inaccessible. So you drop a tower, bam, you get green and yellow and everything, bam, so it's like.
This is why the Northwest region continues to be an issue. I mean, this is kind of where we started.
No, you're exactly
I
right.
mean, it's just like, this is why.
The
it
one under
keeps coming up.
litigation is right here.
Right.
No, it's further up.
Is it? No, I don't think it is. Oh,
Yeah,
maybe it
yeah,
is. Yeah, it is.
it's
That's great.
past
You're right.
Ross District.
So now we actually get to an interesting part of the demo, why I started generating the maps on the fly. Because it's very hard to figure out on these maps where anything is. I mean, we know our town pretty well, but would you be able to kind of figure out on this map, like where each street is?
No.
I could, I'm in real estate, but that's.
That's because you know
And
them.
I can tell you that's my house right there with the black spot, but I won't.
All right. So for that particular reason, this was Diana's suggestion, that we also add a way to drop pins And that's where you
Oh,
start.
like your
generating.
pin is your house.
Your pin is your house or any other location, doesn't
Right, right,
matter.
right.
Just
That-
Oh, what a
enter.
great idea.
Yeah, that's great.
So this is my neighbor, for instance, love her
Okay.
dearly. So
Drop her
add pin. So what that does is that allows us,
We gotta go down, right?
Where is
Scroll
it?
down.
so
Yeah.
it's gonna generate right now. So right
Oh,
now,
still
it's
generating.
just, yeah, it's generating the map.
Oh, I see.
Because it can't drop a pin into existing map. Yeah, I know, it takes a little bit of patience.
Where is the pin?
It's
Not there
generated.
yet.
Not there
Oh, it's
yet.
not there yet?
But in the meanwhile.
This is
That's
where
my
it's
house.
going? Oh,
That's
that,
my house.
that black spot?
So the black spot's your house? X marks the spot.
Hence how I got involved in all this.
Yeah, we definitely need a better license for this.
Hold on, but.
So there you go. Right, there's my Debbie.
Ah,
So I dropped the pin, I can click for an address, shows 72 Cloudboard Hill Road. New
Okay, now
Haven.
can you zoom in on that then?
Of course, now that I know where it is, I can, now I can just say, hey, so let me see how things look from that perspective, now that I actually know that it's right there. Okay, and what that does is I can add, let's say, a second pin across town and say, hey, I would drive across a certain route, and that route would have a particular service, cell service, well, voice service anyway. So I can add as many pins as I want, and of course, I'm not gonna make you suffer through it unless you guys want me to.
No, that's interesting.
Should I drop another page, another pin? Because I can drop like many.
No,
Out
we're
of
good. We got
curiosity,
it.
If you
It's
drop,
easier.
if you drop, when you're saying you can, so you can track where you may want to be going
Right.
every day, where you go down and see
I can
with
drop, let's say-
different services and see which one you want to.
Yeah, I can
You
drop
wanna have-
5 pins and be like, okay, all right, I see how this is gonna work for me.
So that's the voice map. What's the other,
This is brilliant.
what's the
Can I
other?
ask a question before you go off
It's
that?
You can do data. So let's
Can I
say,
ask a
Show me the
question?
data, please.
And we can wait.
and you can wait, okay, that's fine.
Can I ask a question
Of
before you
course.
go off that?
Yeah.
I thought they drove every street in town.
They
I'm not
did.
saying every.
Well, not every street. They drove down Main Street. Like not every.
How many
not
miles
every
did they
That's not
miss?
what I heard.
I don't know, because I.
That's what I
you keep
heard. I
saying
heard also that
125
every
miles,
street
but I
that
thought
now,
was
like,
something-
just
No, they didn't do
everybody-
every street.
They
you
didn't
said.
do every street.
They did 125 miles, whatever that means. So what you are showing us are all the streets that were driven.
Correct.
But as you can
So
see,
I-
there's a lot that we don't have anything.
They didn't do cul-de-sacs, basically, and we have a lot of cul-de-sacs, Devonwood Lane, look at all that, Fable Farm, I mean,
Ludlow.
it's almost like the school buses, they don't go down,
Well,
Well-
let's say you're, let's
not a
say
perfect
you're by-
system.
you're by Hampton here. If your house is in here, what do you think?
They said
the
that
chances are you have coverage?
not, yeah.
Pretty
Is that
simple.
bad? Do we have a contract?
Interpolating between those things can't be anything but red or black.
You know, is there a way to color-wise the orange and the red?
So she's generating the data map
Oh,
now.
On the bigger
Sven,
map.
you
Anything.
asked
You know what I
before
mean?
it
On
was
the bigger
voiced.
Yeah.
map, they look the same. And
Yeah,
it's a difference in the service.
yeah, any colors
Just a
up to
thought.
us, literally anything we want is up to us. Okay, so this is data. Okay, this looks ugly. That's what I was telling you. This
Well,
did
it is
not look
worse than
good.
what-
Holy Toledo, and they're right on top of the towers up in the upper right hand.
Why is
corner,
that? Do we
northwest-
have a theory?
Northeast.
I don't know, is it green or is it
Yeah.
black? You're gonna have to zoom in.
There we go.
It looks like it's both. That's weird.
So what's interesting that I'm noticing, as opposed to voice, like, let's zoom in, okay?
Yeah.
So when you get individual dots, you get like green, black, green, black, green, black. I have no idea what that's all about. Why would that be?
Well, wasn't there uploading and downloading? It was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe that's confusing.
Each
Measure.
dot is one call,
One
right?
call, yeah, one
Well,
page.
this is data
Yeah,
now.
it's one data call. And when you read the definition, which I don't know why I happened to read that in something I read, it was pretty interesting because it said the first 5 seconds it does this, then it does this for 10 seconds, then it does this for
Mhm.
25 seconds, and then it waits for another 10 and then it starts again.
I thought it picked it up more succinctly, like, I don't know, I thought it was grabbing data at a more rapid pace, I guess. Well, we could ask, Ookla what they think. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess the point is, what are the goals of this beautiful interactive map, like educating the citizens, of course. It would be very cool to have this on the website somewhere,
Yeah.
just to engage them, right? But then what? That's always the $1,000,000 question.
So one of the things that I've been asked for by a couple of people is, in the rare case when somebody's actually looking for a provider, this gives them an idea like, hey, you know what, Verizon's not too bad, like as
Oh,
opposed
like
to.
on my street.
On your
like,
street, look
right,
on your
my
street, where
routes.
you go.
You know,
That's true.
Verizon's pretty good.
Right, right.
But obviously, most residents in this town have smartphones, so, you know, that's not a very common case. So the other thing is what story, and that's actually one of the questions that came up in the special meeting with Deanna. What story are we trying to tell? Exactly, that's your question. What story are we trying to tell with these maps?
Right.
Are we trying to create a PR campaign to change ordinances, maybe for the height of towers, to enhance something? Like, if we have data, we actually can come to town council and say, hey, guys, what do you think? Like, should we change something?
I would be wholeheartedly behind that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You know, we had, and I don't remember whether I told the commission this or not, but when Verizon came and talked to Deanna and myself with
Yeah.
their strategy, this dovetailed very well to it, because what they basically said is, since we bought Frontier, we have the capability to put a lot more small sats in up and down the roads that have fiber on them, because we've got the backhaul that we can use, and that's their intent. And I think if we interacted with them, and the guy I was talking to is not one of these two guys, the technical guy I was talking to that was in charge of, I don't know, bandwidth around the Northeast. They knew him. And I think if we could engage with them and say, look, this is what we know. We don't know what you know. You probably don't, we think you don't know as much as this, quite frankly, in this amount of detail. And can we and you help figure out where you're gonna put some small sats, and can we help you figure that, can we?
That would be amazing.
Interact with that?
Were they open to that idea?
Yeah, they were. I mean, they sent us a piece of hardware, right?
Yeah.
Same guys.
I mean, I think that's definitely the first step. And we always talk about how, the carriers may or may not be so invested in us because we are not high density. But I look at this map and I have to imagine when you showed where existing towers are, that east of High Ridge Road has similar problems. So, additional infrastructure would benefit
They would.
multiple towns,
They would.
basically,
If I
right?
can-
That's a very interesting point, because
Like
the
when you
reason,
see there, Scotts Corner and Long Ridge, like you're telling me all that area, it has great service in between
No.
us? No, they
No.
can't.
and so this is, and I don't know, guys, I'm totally relying on your expertise here. So what I did
Go
is.
back to voice because this is very confusing.
Oh, Chairman's dead.
That's right.
Well, I mean, think back, now, the three of us go back to, to town council days, and the old stuff, right? And what was the name of the town in Massachusetts?
Wellesley.
Wellesley. I was gonna say Northampton, but okay, fine. That put up, that
Micro towers on every
put all our
little
towers
thing.
all over Ellinger Brook, right? And, the thing that you said was, what was the expense?
25 million, I think.
The expense, yeah, and the expense was largely, how do you do the fiber optic backhaul?
Hmm.
You're right.
So if that's
And
built
Rich
in.
points out to me that we now have two fully built out fiber optic networks.
Hmm. Right,
One called Optimum. And they're selling T-Mobile service.
yeah. I mean, that would be amazing if they did start doing that.
Here's another question, just a crazy idea, because the reason why I mapped way more, so that you will see a lot of blue, so these are all antennas, right? And
Yeah.
these are not random points. These are actual antennas that that Ookla connected to, because there's
Oh,
they
that's
give
right.
you a cell ID
Right.
of like where they managed
Where the
to-
signal
where
originates.
signal originated,
Mhm.
exactly. So as you can see, we're stealing it from out of town. So it's not like it's not like there's an electric fence around us that
Right,
fences us.
right.
So we are stealing signal from other towns.
Right.
Could we conceivably pay Stanford somewhere like, near High Ridge Road to install a tower that would service that area on the left.
We'd love it.
What do you think?
We tried here, right?
Yeah,
They're in Cascade, okay, on the water company property,
Okay.
right? We tried to talk to them about putting up a tower or a pole. And one of the things Stuart Salabini was on was, can we get the 800 megahertz emergency services antenna up there? Besides the cell tower, well, the people in North Stamford did not want a cell tower there. And so we said, well, how about, an emergency services, come on, and the answer to that was no. Nothing is going up.
So basically same issues as without.
Yeah.
Yeah, NIMBY. It's okay.
I'll strike the record.
Well, that's why if we can get away from the format of, I think two things.
So that one
Go ahead.
eventually led to
that one,
this site at the other end of the reservoir,
which is now in court.
which is now in Pura. Yeah,
Yeah, it was approved and.
Neighbors sued.
The neighbors sued. And that was a year and a half ago, a year ago now.
I talked to the guy, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why it's almost like we have to get away from, putting these big clunkers in, right? And if there is new technology and it is a little more, of course, it's gonna be a little more expensive, but if there is the ability to have these micro songs, that should be looked at as,
Yeah.
the next best
Right.
scenario, right?
So, but right now, just like, we got one on, we got one down here, or what's.
Isn't there one like on the
There's
building
one
next to
here at Oak
Spiga?
Street. There's one at Richmond Hill. Where did Richmond Hill go?
Will they show up on this if they're?
Right, there's one at Richmond Hill
If you're
Park.
using a small sat,
There's one on Pine.
will the small sat show up on here?
You've got one on Pine, you've got one at the top of at the
Anything
town end of
that they
Richmond Hill.
connected to will show up. on the
That
tower,
shows you how
Even if it's just an
small
antenna.
they are.
Interesting.
Some
Put it
of
on.
these are not towers, some of these are just antennas.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can't tell between a tower and antenna, all I can tell is there's a cell connection,
Yeah.
so I plotted them all the same because I can't.
Right.
I can't tell
What's it,
apart.
Well, so
wasn't
the
the corner
cans-
of Michigan Avenue and
123.
120.
not 123, 124, wasn't that the one that just went up like 6 months ago?
I don't know.
Oh, it would have missed this, quite frankly,
Yeah.
right?
But, what I was saying is, they're gonna, the carriers, can put up cans and the cost of the backhaul has gone down. So the business case is easier to make. But still, when you're out where the houses are far apart, it makes it harder to make the
Harder to
business
make a
case.
Business case, exactly.
Because you said this, the spread is only 1,000 feet.
Tops.
I mean, that's
That's
nothing.
And that means flat
Very
and straight.
And I think it's probably,
Could
Less.
people put these on their own homes if they wanted?
at that point, it becomes the same thing that we discussed earlier, like, why do I need to hit a cell tower? I've already got backhaul from my Wi-Fi. What I need is a Wi-Fi extender
Mhm.
and not a cell extender,
Yeah, if you're worried about your house.
Well, people have the Eros, but that still
Right.
assumes you have
The-
a
the-
signal.
The problem that I get back to again, being, being emergency services, advocate is, having a Wi-Fi extender, does not help your first responders,
Doesn't.
right?
Right.
Right.
Unless you have an open, unless you have an open account on your router.
Well, I mean, I do have a guest account, but most people don't.
No, well,
Is it password protected?
No. So
Okay,
my guess,
okay.
yeah, and also.
you're just being
it-
very nice.
Right.
Because most people don't do that.
So what it does, it doesn't have access to any of the things of my private network, like my speaker
Mhm.
system or anything like that. So it's just a very shallow access, just for people to enter.
Right, and your
access
Wi-Fi,
internet and
your
that's-
Wi-Fi doesn't, extend very far.
No.
No.
Like, again, I had to use the extended even to get to the
You know,
pool.
And then
Yeah.
fire service always has the problem of, if your house is on fire, how good is your Wi-Fi extender gonna work?
Right. Yeah.
My neighbor just put a Wi-Fi extender outside because he was sick of calls dropping while he barbecued.
Oh,
I'm not joking. It's
I
like,
agree.
it looks like a little weird thing hardwired in the ground. I mean, that's how desperate people are getting.
but I mean, so there are,
Or by the
Yes.
pool or whatever, right? Like people work from home. That's the
Yeah.
whole point. People work from home now, and that is very different than
I know.
even 5 years ago.
I know.
It's
It's
just
before
ridiculous.
pre-COVID and
Yeah.
post-COVID. Right.
Well, I think you touched upon something that we could have an easier time selling, emergency services. Okay, we're not talking about, okay, because at first I was like, well, we do need to make sure that, school age kids' moms can be reachable, people taking care of elderly are reachable. We need to maybe scale it down and say, okay, firemen, police, EMS, at least they need something, because last time you mentioned that there's nothing, and that's dangerous. I mean, moms not being reached is also dangerous, but I feel like,
We also all grew up that way.
right, I feel like
We're here.
firemen
Yeah.
take precedence.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
And I think.
firemen make fewer runs than, on emergency services. I think, I keep wanting to say NICFAC. I'm going to say New Canaan EMS.
Okay, EMS, that's an excellent case. They make a
New
ton.
Canaan EMS,
Yeah,
for them to have a high quality fat pipe so that they can send data files to the ER, right? And,
Mhm.
what are those going to be, right?
Right.
They're going to be EKGs, stuff like that, right?
sure. Vitals, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So
but
if
they would
those
be-
can get there, while they package everybody and load them into the bus and hot foot it down there, it's a help.
It's huge. I think
Absolutely.
and New Canaan has aging population, so I think that would be an easy sell.
So
True, very true.
I think that's a good idea.
anyway,
Okay.
we keep working on that. Keep
that
beating
be-
that drum.
Would that be a capital project ask for town council?
Well, they've already
Or-
voted on this year's budget.
The,
but yeah.
well, the next year.
Well, I
Uh,
think we need to work, I mean, I think it's longer than that. I mean, for the town to choose, a provider, since it all has to be bid. Would the town do that, or is it easier for us to try and convince our carriers, that given the people in this town and their voice and data usage, that more cans, help them, try and help them make a good business case, to put more cans on the poles.
mhm.
Because we know we've got, 2 sets of fiber running everywhere. We've got
Right.
electric power. There's nothing more you need than equipment. So, how do we, buy in bulk and save? I don't know.
Quick question, do all the emergency services use the same provider or are they all different?
The town has a provider, that we try and use, okay?
Is that?
The
first- is that first?
the answer, if you talk to the first responders is, we'll get on, first responders have their own, carry their own, smartphones with them. So they're constantly trying to, use stuff. So, I mean, if you talk to the police, if they make a traffic stop out in front of Rich's house and, and they want to send information back that would be somewhat personal, they will try and do it by cell phone. But if they're in Rich's house, they can't do it. So if then it goes over the 800 megahertz line and everybody out there with a scanner can listen in because it's not encrypted.
The standard emergency.
Right, so
Right.
that especially, well, oh, that's a really interesting point, because then EMS can't use them at all because that's
Is that
HIPAA
because it's HIPAA
violation.
violation?
Yeah,
That's the problem.
so we have to give them something cellular because that's encrypted. Yeah.
You see, there's a lot of moving parts, you
There
know,
are.
but, you know,
But so far, this is all pro, like nothing against, everything is like, we're building a case.
Mhm.
you know, would the town become a provider? I think that's too heavy a lift.
Mhm.
You know, not just the capital and the infrastructure, but, but the maintenance, and provisioning the maintainers, to run the system with, we talked about Wellesley and, and everybody just sat there and said, nope, too much money.
Well, we also don't know what their topography looks like. My guess is that it's a lot flatter and not as challenging as what we have. I could be wrong. I've never been to Wellesley, Massachusetts, but I'm imagining if they have little anythings that are effective, that they don't have the hills and valleys and maybe all the dense trees. I don't know. And
Mhm.
they were willing to spend $25 million, which is amazing. Did the
Amazing.
taxpayers pay for that? I don't know who paid for that, but
Kevin's comment to me on why we didn't have small sites was the backhaul was gonna be $40 million,
okay,
which was probably an extrapolation from
sure.
the 25.
But if that's gone away, I think that's the ask of the carriers. What would the cost be? And not to blanket it. We're talking about just
No.
get everyone even to a yellow. Let's make the
Exactly.
bar super low, right?
Yeah.
But there should be no blacks and no reds on this map. There should be a
I'd settle for
usable,
orange.
right? What,
Mhm.
or orange even. I mean,
But what a good way to talk to them though. We should invite the guys that came to see Deanna to go through the maps with us.
yes,
And just say, look, these are your maps.
this is the reality.
So can we work together to figure out where you should be putting small sats
Right.
that would be effective, given you've got the
Right.
backhaul?
Even do a test case, do some
Right.
areas,
And see if it works.
laser in up by the reservoir west, pick some spots that are really dark and see if there's an improvement and that could be projected. I mean,
This
I
is-
would love for that.
This is perfect for what we got it for, quite frankly, which is, can we have a reasonable conversation with somebody? And at least these two guys were reasonable, whether they are, when we actually show them this. I told them we had this,
Right.
and we would love to interact with them on it.
I think that's the first order of business.
I think so too. I think just get them in this room and show them the maps
Mhm.
for Verizon.
Mhm.
And I think I've got a contact for T-Mobile. We can ask them the same question.
Yep.
Because if they truly are using the optimum backhaul, it's the same issue.
Mhm.
You wanna
Right.
see T-Mobile, by the way? How T-Mobile compares?
I use T-Mobile. I mean, I think that we should approach
Sure, go
both
ahead.
because maybe
Optimum.
one vendor is
You
more
know, let me
motivated.
do it
Well, by the
in-
way,
in
it
a
would be
separate
great to have a
tab, so we can
competitive one
flip back to
right?
us.
Verizon's putting
Yeah,
small
100%.
sats here, where can we get first,
Exactly.
right?
Who's hungrier?
But it may depend on who owns the telephone pole,
Mm,
right?
right.
So
That's a better
T-Mobile, you guys want voice or data?
Voice, please.
Voice, please.
The other thing I think we should do is I think we should give Alex a demonstration of this. And say, look, this is what we've done with your data so far. And then I would ask him, can we get the new test data put into our data file that we can actually add to this? Because we could do that,
People
right?
Doing, their self-tests.
So, yeah, we can add anything we want.
Because Ookla is still capturing all the data from here that comes through tests, through people doing speed tests, right? And so they have a whole file that is not available to us because you got to pay for it. And we don't want to pay for it.
Hold up, what?
Ookla,
Okay.
the way Ookla is established is they are the main testers of speed on cell phones around the world. And they have,
You can do a speed test.
do a
on your
speed test
phone
on your
Right
phone.
now.
And see what you hear, home, wherever you
And-
We
want.
can just augment that.
And
And then it just goes to
Ookla
that.
Ookla has that data as soon as you do that. And so they have a database of New Canaan that is based on tests,
Self-test.
self-tests.
And we tried to promote that in the
Yeah.
fall when this came out.
But it was, when we looked at the actual data, it was too small and it wasn't enough data for us to do anything with.
Right.
But it seems like it would be useful data to augment this. with.
Well, and he didn't give it to us, I think.
And he didn't give it to us, but we've shown this and we've got this, right?
Worse.
We've got his article. One of the things we want to do is augment it with your data, right?
Mhm.
Would you let us do that?
Right.
Will you just give us that data, right?
Yeah, there's
So
a
this is
lot more
T-Mobile.
of the black spots now with.
It's not that by the TV club.
That's why I go there to do all my business.
Oh, yeah.
You got T-Mobile?
Yeah, I switched from Verizon to T-Mobile and it
Is
was working
T-Mobile the
better
one on the-
and now it's worse.
It's worse.
Is
definitely.
T-Mobile the one on the country club
Yeah,
pole? Is
Yeah.
that the only one or is somebody
yeah,
else on?
well, Verizon's not on it. I don't know who else.
I know
Yeah.
Verizon's not on.
AT&T?
I don't know.
Isn't T-Mobile and
You
AT&T
got an
the
AT&T?
same now?
You got an AT&T?
I got AT&T, I got T-Mobile, FirstNet, and Verizon.
Just overlay the AT&T and then we'll stop.
Alright.
Otherwise, we can play with data forever, you
Can
know.
you
us,
overlay
Pablo.
the two?
I can't overlay
No.
them because they're on the same streets, so then we just get a mishmash.
Yeah, you get, yeah.
Yeah.
Turns brown.
Yeah. It's like a mud puddle.
Voice, right?
I think there's a lot of stuff we can do with this. And the other thing we could do
Let
is
me go
actually
back on this,
solicit some citizens to
Voice.
come in and look at. And say, what would you like the town to
so
do
we
with
can see
this?
3 voices.
You know? Get,
Depends on who you ask.
well, that's right. How many people do you think would actually take some time to come in and look at something like this? 2 or none or 2,000?
I think people with extreme opinions.
You think so?
Yeah.
Clark, what do you think?
Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, if we were to try and get some residents to come in and look at this and ask them, hey, this is great data. We've got all kinds of ideas. What would you guys have us do with this? What would you do with it?
Wait, look at it online or look at it?
Look at it with us. Look at it with Pavlo. You know?
I think a lot of people would go online.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
Like the
would
public.
watch.
And give us feedback. Could we do a survey with it? What do you think of this map? What would you do with it?
Great to have just in this environment, you interacting naturally looking.
Yeah, I think this is, I think if you got a half a dozen residents in this room looking at these maps for a half an hour, I think they'd have a terrific time and I think they'd give us a lot of good feedback.
Could do it at the library.
We could do it live. We could do it anywhere that we got television.
Notice, This is the Verizon one, right? And there isn't even antenna shown at the,
I don't think this is Verizon. This
So
is,
this is Verizon, yeah.
oh, it is?
Yeah,
Oh,
it is
sorry.
Verizon.
see, because there's no,
And.
Oh, sorry, no, I apologize. This is, oh yeah, this is Verizon.
Oh, it is
You're right. Yeah,
Verizon. You're
it is
right,
Verizon,
because it's
yeah.
not picking up correct. The antenna at the country club, yeah.
Verizon's a very different network though, because it's all
Yes.
4G, not 5G.
So
T-Mobile's
some-
5G, I believe, most of it.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we got all 3. So this is Verizon, right?
yeah,
Versus, this was, I wish I had a bigger screen. Versus, this was T-Mobile.
Can't you put them on
Versus-
screens next to each other, one on the back wall?
It's gonna be very, very small.
oh, stop.
Oh, no.
Pablo can do
All right,
anything.
we have another agenda item too, don't we?
We do.
It's gonna be quick.
Let me try to, okay,
You know how
let me
much fun this is?
unshare.
We ought to get residents into this. I really think so. We can put something out in Deanna's monthly note. If you're
Newsletter.
interested in viewing the new cellular data and where you are in it, please send your name and address and we'll talk about it. How about that?
You could take on that project.
I think that would be a great project. I think people would really find this interesting.
Oh, entire screen, okay, I can do
I mean, I think it
that.
is interesting when you get into it.
So what I can do is I can do this. I
The
can
question is your
pull-
alternative use of time.
Let's see. So let's do
No, this one's even worse.
this.
This is maybe.
Um,
This AT&T?
yeah.
I think so.
So this is, I'm arranging. So this was T-Mobile. This is Verizon. hold on.
There it is.
So Verizon, let's, you know what,
I
let
have to go
me,
back to Verizon based on this map.
okay. And then the
Yeah.
last
Wild that
one,
T-Mobile was better. Because Kevin used to make the argument too, that like 90% of New Canaanites have Verizon and that he thought it was diluting the signal.
Right, there wasn't enough signal.
Right,
Wasn't
and
enough
then,
power.
And no capacity.
Yeah.
right,
capacity.
and then I think a bunch of people moved over and then it, I don't know.
okay, and then there's a T-Mobile, let's do that.
Which one was the AT&T?
So AT&T
Right
is,
one.
I think this
Oh,
is
no.
Verizon, so this is
That's
Verizon.
Verizon on the left.
Verizon on the left, T-Mobile on the bottom, and now I just need to grab the AT&T. Oh my God. Okay, so that's the AT&T. So that goes here on top. Okay, that's it.
Wow.
This is all voice?
Yeah.
This is all voice.
AT&T has the least dark.
Has the least black.
Yes, yeah, you're right, yeah.
And
uh-huh.
it's picking up more towers. Do you see that tower by
Yeah.
Scott's
Yeah.
Corner?
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
that's why.
That's pretty cool.
And there's a lot more yellow on the east on AT&T. As opposed to red.
Yeah, what is it with the towers? I mean, there's a whole row of them up the center.
And also there are more towers or antennas or whatever they are that I couldn't map to a physical
Well, see, they're
location.
not all powered, so I
Because
think it'd be a
I
small sign.
couldn't find all the cell identifiers,
Mhm.
because I was just looking for the publicly available stuff. I'm gonna go into town center at some point and just grab whatever is registered in New Canaan and, you know, maybe add a couple that I missed because I just couldn't find the,
So
the
that top
identifiers.
right one is what? AT&T?
AT&T.
So AT&T top right, T-Mobile bottom right, and Verizon is on the left.
Verizon's best in town and around the schools. AT&T is best in the east. It's best outside the town center.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well, Pablo, this is amazing. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
efforts.
All
It's
set.
really unbelievable.
I'll say, but we've had a lot of
We Get a
ideas
new
here.
Canaan cap or something out of
One
the
more question.
baseball hat.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
had talked about, the idea.
Turn on your
that
mic.
At, school,
Bernie.
we had talked about it at school pickup time, when a lot of people might be using that tower, it degraded. Is that true? I thought I heard you say earlier that's not the case, if there's a lot of traffic on a tower.
I mean, I don't think our population density would impact the towers. Obviously, if you have a lot of people, let's say on your Wi-Fi, it slows it down. But I think tower has a little more juice than that.
So,
Obviously, if we put like millions of people on it, yeah, they'll suck it
so
up.
50 or 60 people picking up at school at the same time wouldn't degrade.
No, not at all. No.
That was something I,
Tower's
been
powerful,
common.
yeah.
We'd
Like,
all
let's say
assumed that.
You have a
You were
couple of
talking
It's
about-
in the middle of town schools, and the other thing is the kids have their phones on all day at school, so you've already got a population of 2,000 students in the middle of Farm Road and by the Y, like.
Would that degrade it?
that
No,
happen.
2,000 people I think would be fine.
Yeah.
These towers are much more powerful. I would say like you get into like tens of thousands, yeah, they might degrade, but you know, it's definitely not for
'Cause
like.
we had them specifically do this drive test and hit the school areas
Right,
at
at that
that
time.
time in June, literally. a
Because
year
of this
ago.
phenomena,
Yeah,
but you're saying it
Then
doesn't
maybe.
exist.
yeah,
It shouldn't affect it just because it's not enough.
right.
It's not enough.
It's not
That's
enough.
good to know.
Yeah, at some point, I'm sure it gets too critical, but I don't think we
Not
have
in
enough
not
people
in
for
this
that.
town.
No.
You know, an interesting thing is the tower by the armory only shows up on AT&T. You know, there's a tower right here.
Oh, but that's AT&T tower.
Yeah, it
So,
only shows
okay.
up on AT&T. There's two towers down there now.
Oh, really? There's a
Yes.
T-Mobile tower too?
There's two, I believe there's. a
Was it here
Verizon
then?
tower. Yeah, by the armory.
Was
But
it
it
here
wasn't up
and when
here
this
in
was
the
done?
text.
Oh, it was not.
Correct.
Okay, then it didn't
Oh,
show.
that's
Yeah.
right. It wouldn't show.
Yeah.
Just the other one that was there. You're right. That's why it would be good to get Alex to give us the other data.
Then my question is, if there is an AT&T tower there by Scott's Corner, why can't we just put more antennas on it?
If it's got room, you should be able to
Like, why are we
negotiate that,
not,
right?
Who owns the tower?
right, that's gonna be the
What's the,
million dollar question.
is there room on it? Who else is on it? Yeah.
But to the point of like town council and when they're rewriting or P and Z's or guidelines, like someone had said that the tower, we have an ordinance right now that says a tower can't be higher than 110 feet. But then someone said, well, the trees now are hitting the 90-foot mark. So basically by default, every year, even the existing towers are becoming less effective. So that is a reason to perhaps literally lift that band to a higher height.
Right.
Because, I mean, we're not talking about putting in new towers at different locations, but if we can't improve the existing infrastructure, we have a real problem.
We got to get higher than.
Because our trees are getting taller?
Yeah,
They don't grow to the sky though.
they do stop, they do stop
They
at
do
some point.
stop, but like,
but-
whenever those towers.
Then they
were
fall
put
over
in,
and take
they
out the
were
power
70
line.
feet. So like, it's a Christmas tree, so the spray of the signal is
Uh-huh.
becoming less effective. That's why we also had this done, the drive test when it
With-
was full
with
bloom
leaves.
and the leaves were on the trees, because that impacts the signal
Absolutely.
as well, right?
Right.
So, all of these little things matter, but I think this is a great start,
think
and I
it-
hope
I think
we
it's
can
terrific.
really push the carriers to
Yeah.
invest and love New Canaan.
Yeah.
End
Uh,
of story, right?
so why don't we move on to the last and final
Great work.
final
Yeah.
agenda item here, home energy presentation by Sven.
I like that.
Yeah, I was at New Canaan Library. This was the Sustainable Home Energy presentation at New Canaan Library on May the 12th. And the first one up was gentleman Matt Macarona from Energize CT, and he was talking about electrically powered heat pumps, and that heat pumps have become more suited for northern climates. And, we went through a lot of stuff on this, okay? There was a lot of talk about, how many kBTUs you need, what's the maximum temperatures, and a lot of curves showing, the cost of 1 million BTUs, from electric heat pumps, the output of oil burners and natural gas, across temperatures. So it was, I was, quite involved. Basically, I think we get down to the point where, if you're above 5 degrees Fahrenheit, you can, you don't need to have any additional source. You can run off of heat pumps. The way the winters have been running so far, that doesn't seem
We're
unreasonable.
seldom at 5 degrees.
Yeah, we don't get down
For
to,
any extended period.
we don't get down to the negatives anymore. Anyway, he talked about, how to do the conversions. Can you go ductless? There's, a lot of, different means to retrofit an existing building.
I just put one in.
Did you?
Um,
How's it going?
We're just on the air conditioning cycle.
Okay,
One,
yeah.
Same thing, but the place has ducts for the air conditioning. The place was built in the late 60s. The heat source in the winter had been coils running through the ceiling,
Oh,
radiating it
radiant
down,
heat.
and at 27 cents a kilowatt hour, that was very
Yeah,
expensive in the
that
winter.
went fast.
But Mitsubishi actually makes one, a ducted system that gets heat down to -5.
Okay. Well, apparently there are systems that will go to -30, but they weren't pushing those.
Yeah, but as you said, if it comes to the conclusion that it can't get any more heat from the outside cold air, you do go to these heat coils or
Okay.
heat strips. And they're not very efficient, but you can look at the data about how many days a year we get beneath 20. And even at that, it's how many hours during that day are we beneath
Yes.
20. It's very small.
And that's why they all of these guys, were pushing, please come to us, we want to do evaluations of your home. We want to talk to you about insulation, windows, all of which have, there's Connecticut state and federal money that's still there, as of May, to assist you with improving your insulation efficiency in your home.
For the heat pump, Connecticut will give you $500 per BTU. So ours was a little 3 not BTU, but ton, I guess. So we got $1,500, and I think you can take a credit on your federal income tax
Yeah.
too.
They were saying that for insulation stuff, obviously, Energize CT, the Connecticut group will, do free surveys and provide you with the exact detailed list of rebates that are available to you, and also bona fide contractors that they feel are useful. Basically, the heat pump is very carbon clean compared to any fueled system, natural gas, oil, and such like. Coal.
No,
Thank you.
it just uses electricity.
Yeah,
So
no,
if
we
you're
understand.
getting electricity from coal and natural gas,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
it's,
Thing that I have with that is, don't you still need a backup system for any electricity stuff? Because like, for instance, I have a geothermal well, but I do have a separate backup, which we, for the most part, we don't use. It just sits there based on propane. We don't have natural gas, so we have propane tank. So it just sits there, does absolutely nothing, but like, we still have to have it because occasionally electricity fails, and then instead of winter, we're left without
Mhm.
heat.
Right.
So there's.
The other thing they
talk
talked
it?
about was, there are heat pumps that now generate hot water that you can add as an auxiliary on your system. So, if you're changing over from your oil, hot water, heat and hot water, domestic hot water, there are other things. I won't go into it too much more. Go to the Energize CT, on the web, and start digging, and just call somebody up, or drop them an email and say, yes, I need to be talked to. Come help me. They want to help. The other one was Bill Colonis from the Connecticut Green Bank, CT Green Bank, all lowercase.com. It's a state agency. Their basic premise is that they are working on all forms of energy efficiency, not just heat pumps. They're also talking about solar photovoltaics and your geothermal wells. So they also, would love, to talk to people and help them through, thinking about, their efficiency. They can work with you on understanding power purchase agreements, purchase, lease, all kinds of stuff going on. So it gets quite complex. He basically felt that, within an 8 to 12 year period, you could get payback. Basically, you need to be in your house for 5 years before you can transfer the licenses. Okay.
Transfer the license?
Well, transfer the agreements, the power purchase agreements and things like that.
Oh, like.
You
like the
have
Starbucks?
you have to hold them for 5 years before you can transfer them.
Like
so-
somebody who purchases your house?
Yeah, someone purchases your house. You need to be in your house for 5 years before you can do the transfers.
That's a financing issue though.
Yeah.
Right? It's if you're doing a power purchase agreement, which says you install it for me, whoever is the financer, you install it for me and I will pay you $20 a month for the next 12 years. 20 years,
Exactly.
Right?
80% of the people the number he threw out was 80% of the people do a power purchase agreement with a monthly payment.
Interesting.
So they don't have the capital up front.
There are some people who do leasing and, they can walk you through that, but it's a smaller number of people. His general feeling was the best way for you to make your home more energy efficient is to weatherize it first.
Yep.
Okay. There are loans for weatherizing, smart loans through the Green Bank, and they can help you with that. They also do well and septic systems and can help you with that. If you need your well and your septic infrastructure upgraded. They can help you with that. The Connecticut Green Bank will also help you with resiliency and flood proofing. And I thought that was very interesting. Then everything dropped down and everyone started talking about battery storage, energy storage and backups. And that got quite esoteric very quickly because, the rate of change of technology and the people who are in the battery bank inverter market is increasing. And there were people there who were talking about their Tesla banks, and there were people who were there talking about their Korean. Was it Samsung? I don't know if it was Samsung or LG or one of those people. Anyway,
Were they complaining or were they thinking the battery banks were great?
Generally, people who had battery banks were advocates for their specific battery bank. This was in a Q&A kind of session at the end. And then we talked about, the loans and stuff like that, and what are the terms of the loans, and, what if I sell, how do I move that loan to somebody, to the new owner. It got quite esoteric very quickly. There are also green Liberty notes as investments that pay 4% and 5% that they're willing to sell.
Oh, okay.
So they were on, everything moving. But it was a very interesting night. It was a reasonably good crowd. I would say 40 people maybe total were
Is
there.
that right? That's a lot.
I thought it was quite a number.
That's a lot.
There were a lot of people who were interested. I will say that, demographically, the crowd skewed older, but then it started at 6 o'clock and younger families are probably not that available at 6 o'clock. It's a family
Yep,
family
that's true.
time.
Yep.
So maybe that was skewed the demographic, but it was very nice.
Great.
Thank you.
I'm glad you went. That's terrific. Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Commissioner reports. I think I've said everything I need to say that I
I
could think
haven't.
of. No?
Thank you. Thank you. Again, like on town council, it was been, a treat serving with you guys. I'm going to miss you. As soon as you want to come back, we'll kill somebody so you can come back.
No, I
But,
thought you were giving me it. 'Cause
when I started out on this, and we were just getting going, and people were starting to talk to us, about joining up, and, I didn't know Bernie, and I didn't know Hiram, and I didn't know Karim and stuff like that, but, when I knew you two guys were gonna be on it with me, I said yes, only because you were here.
Yep, I agree 100%. It's been a pleasure to serve with everyone.
And then I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. If anybody else is online, Sophia Clark.